Hello and welcome to the first episode of Bullet Journaling for Dungeons & Dragons. This is a series about how to use different bullet journaling techniques to improve your Dungeons & Dragons notes, as both a player and as a dungeon master. If you haven't heard of bullet journaling before, don't worry, I'll be talking you through it as we go. If you already know about bullet journaling, I'd love to hear your ideas and see what you come up with using this series. Today's episode is about setting up a campaign journal for your player character. This will be the place to put everything about your character and the campaign that they feature in. The pre-campaign preparation can be as long or as short as you need it to be, but the process is broken down into 8 steps. 1. Picking the paper. 2. Title page. 3. Key or legend. 4. Cover page. 5. Backstory spread. 6. Goals. 7. Style book. 8. Index. I've added timestamps for each of the steps in the description below if you need a quick refresh on any of these sections. I'm using my player character Natalie as an example. The steps in today's episode are designed to be completed before your campaign begins to ensure that you have the foundations of your character recorded and to get you thinking about what they look like, their story, and how you want to play them. Step 1. Picking the paper. This is about picking the perfect journal for you, including finding the best paper for you. When you go to purchase a journal, you'll have to think about the type of paper you want to use. The 4 main types of paper are lined, dotted, grid, or blank. Personally, I recommend using a dotted journal. It's useful for measuring out creative designs and lettering, but also for quickly noting maps or creating tables for extra information. If you need to quickly draw out a combat encounter, it makes it easier with the dotted design, and it's still good to write with and use. The journal I chose is for my half-orc barbarian Natalie. She's a character that I play on the Wisdom Saves Twitch channel every second Sunday. The journal looked pretty and particularly appealed to me with the quote, "Nevertheless she persisted." She's a strong woman and constantly persisting despite the world trying to weigh her down. I'd suggest finding a journal for your character that matches them, perhaps a motif or a symbol of their personality, their gear, or just something that reminds you of them, as it would be something you'll be investing a lot of time in throughout the course of your campaign. If you're interested in purchasing a journal like this for yourself, I've left a link in the description below. I purchased it from Amazon and it was created by Peter Pauper Press, and it has 192 pages, dotted paper, an A5 size, and a sturdy elastic band to keep it all together. If you aren't sure what journal is best for you, you might want to try something new, or you want to know the pros and cons of different journals. I have a video that is being released soon reviewing 10 different journals and what works and what doesn't about each of them. Step 2. Title page. Your journal will come with a few blank pages at the beginning where you can really let your creative side show. It's a good place to create something that reminds you of your character, otherwise known as the title page. Maybe they have a pet or a favourite flower, or perhaps a set of weapons specific to them. The key here is to use these blank pages to write your character's name and create something to begin your journal. In standard bullet journals, the title page is the space where people would create something to document the year and set the theme of their journal. You might choose to work on this now, or later once you've created your character more and gotten to know them a little bit better. For me, I decided to paint this design of deer's antlers and flowers to represent a key point in Natalie's backstory: secrets. I used acrylic paints that I had lying around and did my best to pick colours that matched the colour scheme of the outside design. As I had 3 blank pages in total, I set aside the 3rd page to be a full-page picture of my girl. Once I commission some art or create some myself, I'll throw something here. The key point is that I'm creating a small space where this art can go, setting it aside for later when I do have the opportunity to put something there. Once you've created or set aside some space for your title page, make sure that you leave 1 blank page for your index. We'll cover that later once we've completed more of the journal. Step 3. Key or legend. The next page should be 1 or 2 pages set aside for your key or legend. Bullet journaling is all about using different symbols to quickly note different events or tasks that need to be done each week or each month. Think about when you've used bullet or dot points for studying and you wrote down short, concise sentences to break up the topics that you've learned. It's the same principle. I have a set of bullet designs that help me with my notes, but it's an ever-evolving list. We will cover examples of how to use these symbols later in the series. For now, it's more important that you have a space to list the symbols you will use, with a bit more space to list more. If you're like me and you enjoy colour coding your notes, leave a little section for colour codes too. Please ignore that I forgot to find my green highlighter. Regarding colour coding, I have one colour for each character in the campaign. While I know who I'm playing with in my current campaign with Natalie, you may need to leave this until later. You can fill this out easily once you know who you'll be playing with. Step 4. Cover page. The purpose of the cover page here is to mark the section that contains your character's backstory, goals, style, and any other information you want to note down before the campaign begins. Here I use words that reminded me of Natalie to fill this page, things like strong or barbarian or loyal, something cute that makes me think of her as I do it. I'd highly recommend it for yourself actually, it really made me think. But anything here will do. If you're ever stuck for ideas, you can use the phrase bullet journal cover page to get inspiration through Pinterest, Google Images, or any social media. There's some very creative people out there that have some very interesting ideas and designs. The main thing here is to just get that name of your character onto that page to start this section. Step 5. Backstory spread. For obvious reasons, I can't show you what I actually wrote for Natalie's backstory. That would be spoilers. However, you can see the basics. I set aside 2 pages, or a spread, to write down Natalie's backstory. As Natalie grew up in the mountains, I chose a mountain design to complement the lettering at the top, and drew some fancy lines and stuff. For your own journal, set aside as many pages as you need to write down a basic idea of your backstory. Again, there are no limits to how creative you need to be for this. It can simply be a list of things that your character has done, or a full few pages of prose about how epic your character was before they started the campaign. Step 6. Goals. Once you've considered your backstory, you may have some idea of some goals for your character, whether these are long-term and designed to be solved across the campaign, or short-term goals that would keep your character motivated at the beginning of the campaign. For Natalie, I designed her goals page to mirror the title page and noted a few of her long-term goals. These were things like wanting to be a hero and finding out what happened to her father. You know, standard daddy issues stuff. Step 7. Style book. One of my favourite parts, the style book. This part is a little different to the rest of the journal, as most of this was designed on a computer rather than drawn out. But it's a section where you get to work out an idea of what your character looks like to help you imagine and create them in the best way that you can. I did this by scouring Pinterest, creating different Pinterest boards, and picking my favourite pictures to build a style book for Natalie's face, body, clothes, and weapons. I looked up what other half-orcs look like, what kind of tusks they had, what kind of clothes they wore, and what different weapons she could wield. It helps to get an idea of what your character roughly looks like and may inspire you to create a custom outfit, weapon, or look of your own character. If you're an artist, this could be a good place to draw some different designs and trial different outfits or looks. Otherwise, I'd highly recommend finding images online and printing it out to stick to your journal. Step 8. Index. Now that you've completed your pre-campaign journal setup, you can start filling in your index. First step is to go back and number each of the pages that you've gone through so far. Then go and slowly enter them into your index. The index notes on what page different content is on. You can enter here where your backstory spread is, your goals, your style book, etc. This is a page that you'll constantly be updating as you go through your journal, so make sure there's plenty of room. I'd even recommend 2 pages, or if you have a larger journal or you have the extra pages that you may want to include. And with that done, you're ready to go out and search for a campaign for your character. Tune in for episode 2 of Bullet Journaling for Dungeons & Dragons, where I'll cover what pages you'll need once you've found your character a campaign. The question I have for you is, what character will you start a journal for? Tell me a little bit about them and how you'll design their journal. You're welcome to swap or change or add to any of these steps as we go along, but these are the basics. If you enjoyed this episode, have any feedback or have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. The link to my Discord, Patreon, or my other social media will be in the description below.